We are told that if you work hard, follow the rules, and buy a house, you will be financially secure. But the math no longer supports the classic American dream. We wanted to know what the future actually holds for everyday workers. So we fed half a century of macroeconomic data into ChatGPT to get the cold, unfiltered reality. We started with establishing the baseline. We asked ChatGPT, quick stats on the US middle class. The U.S. middle class still represents roughly half of Americans, but its share has declined significantly over time. Pew Research estimates that 51% of Americans lived in middle-class households in 2023, down from 61% in 1971. Meanwhile, about 30% were lower income and 19% were upper income in 2023. For income, Pew defines middle income as roughly two-thirds to twice the U.S. median household income, adjusted for household size. Using its latest detailed analysis, the median income for a middle-class household was about $106,100 in 2022, measured for a three-person household in 2023 dollars. The bigger change is in economic power. The middle class received about 62% of all U.S. household income in 1970, but only 43% in 2022. At the same time, the upper income group share rose from 29% to 48%. For broader context, the overall U.S. median household income was $83,730 in 2024, according to the Census Bureau. ChatGPT confirmed what your bank account already feels. The middle class is shrinking. But symptoms don't explain the cause. We needed the exact mechanics behind the shift. So we asked, what's going to cause the disappearance of the middle class? The U.S. middle class is unlikely to disappear because of one single event. The bigger risk is hollowing out, fewer households remaining securely in the middle as more move toward the lower income or upper income groups. The main forces are housing costs rising faster than incomes, healthcare and education becoming more expensive, stagnant or uneven wage growth, automation and AI reducing demand for some middle-skilled jobs, weaker access to traditional career paths, rising household debt, and wealth becoming increasingly concentrated among people who already own stocks, businesses, and real estate. Housing is especially important because it affects almost everything else. If a growing share of a family's income goes toward a rent or a mortgage, there is less left for savings, retirement, education, and investing. This creates a feedback loop. People who already own assets benefit from rising asset prices, while people who don't own them have a harder time catching up. Over time, that can turn the middle class from an income category into a much more fragile economic position. Technology could accelerate the process. Historically, automation often replaced specific tasks while creating new jobs, but AI has the potential to affect white-collar and middle-skill work, such as administrative work, customer service, basic analysis, accounting, and some professional services. If productivity gains mainly flow to companies and highly skilled workers rather than broadly raising wages, the income gap could widen further. The other major factor is wealth inequality rather than simply income inequality. A household earning $100,000 but owning a valuable home, retirement accounts, and investments is in a much stronger position than a household earning the same amount while renting and carrying significant debt. If asset ownership becomes increasingly concentrated, the middle class can become economically weaker even when headline incomes continue rising.
ChatGPT identified a structural economic trap where the cost of assets permanently outpaces the value of human labor, which led us to the core question of our investigation. Do you think the middle class will disappear completely? No, the U.S. middle class is very unlikely to disappear completely. The more realistic possibility is that it shrinks and changes shape rather than vanishing. There will almost certainly continue to be a large group of Americans earning moderate to high incomes, owning homes or other assets, and living somewhere between the lower and upper ends of the income distribution. The bigger concern is economic insecurity. A household can technically remain middle class by income while struggling with housing, healthcare, education, debt, and retirement costs. So the middle class could survive statistically while becoming less prosperous and less financially secure. The long-term risk is therefore not zero middle class, but a more polarized America, a relatively smaller group with substantial wealth and asset ownership, a larger group living paycheck to paycheck, and a narrower group occupying the economically comfortable middle. Complete extinction is unlikely, but the machine revealed that the basic essence of what it means to be middle class is being permanently rewritten through intense polarization,